Prepare to experience the strongest radio allowable by law. Secrets will be revealed. Myths dispelled. From the studio gym where excuses never apply, it's Superhuman Radio with your host, Carl Lenore.
Welcome back to another episode of Superhuman Radio. You know, really, the thrust of this show has always been about aging better. When you use the term anti-aging, especially if you search on the internet, you come up with a bunch of cosmetic products. And that's because the mainstream thinks anti-aging is about looking good, which I've failed to do, obviously. Jimmy Hoffa is right in there. There he is. Anyway, you know, anti-aging is about staving off age-related disease. Anti-aging is about living a quality of life that allows you to be involved in life all the way to the end, not spending your last 20 years in an institution, sitting in a diaper in a chair, looking at the TV set, waiting for some attendant to come and change a channel for you. That's not the goal of anti-aging. The anti-aging is not about living longer. It's about living better longer. And there's a lot of people out there who think they know anti-aging, and they focus on one thing, because as a population, we really think there's one thing that fixes everything. And you've heard me say on this show numerous times that anybody who thinks that there's just one thing is insulting the complexity of the human body. My guest today is not one of those people. Dr. Sandra Kaufman is going to join us in a minute. And if you really want to age better, there's a lot of little plates that you have to keep spinning, like that guy on the Ed Sullivan Show, in order to age better. But once you know which plates to focus on to get the best results, it's easy to do. We're going to talk about that today. Later in the show, we're going to be joined by Patrick Murphy from Saluma to talk about some awards they just won for their light therapy unit. They are an FDA-approved medical device, unlike lots of other these LED boxes out there. So he'll be joining us later to talk about their awards and some exciting stuff. Before we get underway, of course, I have to thank our title sponsor, and that's Legendary Foods, makers of the new cake-style tasty pastry, 20 grams of high-quality, high-leucine protein, less than 1 gram of sugar. All the time you're eating it, you'll think you're cheating, but you're not. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary. The code is SHR10 to save 10% off. I guarantee you will never be without them once you try them. And here's an easy way to try them. Listen to the commercial breaks. Listen for the secret word. Email the secret word on air at superhumanradio.net along with your mailing address, so I don't have to play tag with you and say, hey, you won. We're giving away numerous boxes every single day, thanks to the generosity of Ron Penna. So your odds are really good to get a free box. And the response we're getting from people who have won boxes is astonishing. And of course, they'll be customers for life. Listen for the secret word. Email it to onair@superhumanradio.net. include your mailing address, and you some tasty pastry as soon as next week. And now, without further delay, there we go. Welcome to the show, Dr. Sandra Kaufman.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here, sir.
Thank you. What I said at the beginning of the show is pretty accurate. We have all these gurus out there. In fact, I got lambasted for once saying, never take anti-aging advice from anybody under 50. And that might not be accurate, but what I meant were there's people on Facebook, young people in their 30s, trying to promote techniques for anti-aging, and they have no idea what the body actually goes through in a multitude of areas as it ages. And we have so many people who just focus on one thing, the mitochondria, telomeres. But really, it's much more complex than that, isn't it?
Oh, it's extremely complex. And what my focus was actually trying to do was to put all of the reasons that you age, and there are a ton of them, into categories and make it palatable so that people can sort of digest it and get it. So okay. You're absolutely right.
All right. So let's start off with you. So you came up with 7 tenets. And I want to cover those first before we start talking about some of the back end questions I have for you. The 7 tenets of aging. Like we've talked off the air, and my audience knows that Aubrey de Grey says everything is related to the mitochondria. What are the 7 tenets of aging, the 7 plates, if you will, that we need to keep spinning in order to age better? What's the first one?
So the first one is what I call DNA alterations. Right? The DNA is basically the instruction manual of your cell and of your body, and it tells you what to do and when to do it. And of course, the problem is that DNA changes over time. So in this category, we're looking at telomere length, right? Everyone talks about needing to increase your telomerase to make your telomeres longer, as well as reducing stress and all the things that damage your DNA. On top of that, we're looking at epigenetic modifications. We all are measuring our methylation rates, and both the DNA and of course your histones get methylated and acetylated and phosphorylated, and we need to be able to positively control that. And then the last thing in the DNA category is what I think of as DNA protection. There are certain agents that can shield your DNA from bad things from the environment. So that is category 1.
Okay. And we'll talk about the solutions. Let's go to category 2. What is, and I actually pulled it up, so I'm following along with you. What's
fantastic. So category 2 is mitochondria. And I like to use a factory model. And if you understand a factory, you don't have a factory if you don't have power. So the mitochondria are the powerhouses of the cell. And many, many things go wrong with mitochondria over time. But to make it simple, I focus on just the basics. Number 1, we know that oxygen creates free radicals. Oxygen is necessary for mitochondria to function, but somewhere between 1 to 10% becomes radicalized over the course of time. And obviously, if you exercise, it goes up. As you get older, that percentage goes up. Your body is very smart, and it makes endogenous free radical scavengers, but those fail over time as well. So you have all these sort of damaging molecules floating around your mitochondria, and that's the first thing we need to deal with. And then secondly, anyone over 40 has a nicotinamide deficiency, and you need NAD in your electron transport chain. And the older you get, the more you need it and the less you have. So those are the big mitochondrial problems. And, you can throw in some coenzyme Q deficiencies and a variety of other things, but those are the big 2.
Okay, so let's stay with this for a second. That's the first time I've ever heard that only a percentage of free radicals or oxidative stress actually is radicalized. Mm-hmm. What causes those rogues to become rogues?
It has to do with leakage. It has to do with a variety of things. You have, for example, mitochondrial pores. Mm-hmm. Pores open as you get older. We don't really exactly know why. And as the pores open more as you get older, you get more electron leak, causes more damage, more radicalized oxygen, and it just goes up. The more you use your mitochondria, it's just percentage game. You just get more radicalized oxygen. And then, of course, that spreads. It goes to nitrogen molecules. It goes to a variety of other molecules. So we have a multi-leveled clear system of sort of extinguishing these little flames. But again, you just can't keep up with it over the course of time. So the older your mitochondria get, you make less endogenous scavengers, but you create more free radicals. So if you're 22, you probably don't need any scavengers, but by the time you're 40, 50, 60, you really do.
Okay, so is it possible that these pores are opening up in response to changes associated with chronological aging, but actually that have more to do with activity/inactivity? Because we know that you can increase mitochondrial biogenesis, size, and efficiency through extreme exercise. So is it possible that these pores are opening up in response to people's mitochondria becoming less efficient because they're just not moving as much anymore? You know, when we were hunter-gatherers, we probably moved a lot more than we do today.
So the answer is I don't actually know. Everything that I've read about mitochondrial pores basically says they exist. We don't know why they exist. They just do, and they tend to open more over time. I don't know evolutionarily why we would have these. It's probably like what we consider like a pop-off, like in a pressure system. You know, perhaps, you know, they get overladen for some reason. I could hypothesize until the cows come home. But in reality, we just need to see if we can close them. And the cool thing, and I know we're not to the solution section yet, but for example, metformin keeps them closed, as does spermidine, two of my favorite agents in the world. So there are ways to keep your mitochondria healthy. We just need to.
What about fasting? Intermittent fasting does a lot of the same things that that metformin do without any of the possible unwanted effects.
Well, so now you're skipping to category 3.
Okay, let's go there then.
Okay. And so the other thing I want to sort of mention here, I separate these categories as if they are completely separate. And in reality, we know they're not, right? I take my 7 little circles in my standard slideshow, squish them all together with 1,000 arrows. And that's really, truly what's happening. Yeah. But to understand them in isolation just makes it more understandable. So right. In a sense, you're right? Mitochondria affect pathways and this affects that and blah, 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 blah. But to truly sort of digest it, we're going to separate them. So we're going to go from tenet 2, which is mitochondria, to tenet 3, which I call pathways. The big 3, and again, these are not the only 3, but I call them the big 3. We talk about AMP kinase pathways, the 7 sirtuin pathways, and then the mTOR pathway.
Right.
And one of the big things that the intermittent fasting does is it activates your AMP kinase pathway, right? Increases the amount of AMP versus the ATP ratio, tells your body you're semi-starving, and it puts you in a state of hibernation. So it does. It makes your mitochondria more efficient. It increases autophagy. It does a variety of really good things, but it does it via the AMP kinase pathway.
And then obviously it does suppress mTOR to a degree. I mean, I take 6 milligrams of rapamycin every other week because I'm hoping that that's going to help me with the AMPK/mTOR conundrum. But fasting also shuts down mTOR, correct?
It does, of course, because the mTOR is the opposite of the AMP kinase, right? AMP kinase tells you you're starving, stop building, let's hibernate. mTOR I consider the pathway of youth. Let's build, right? And so when you're younger, you need a ton of muscle, everything needs to grow. The problem is if you take cells that are incapable of growing and you keep trying to signal them to grow, they become very angry and they do things that they shouldn't do. Right? So for example, if you hyperstimulate cells in your vasculature with mTOR, it's one of the reasons that you can get high blood pressure. It's one of the reasons that platelets become hypercoagulable, a variety of things. So you're right. We don't necessarily want the mTOR pathway as we get older, and people have been aiming toward rapamycin to turn it off. I will, however, tell you that, it's a little touchy in this arena. I'm not convinced that that's necessarily the right thing to do because you're also turning off cells that need to turn over rapidly. And the big 2 in this category are hippocampal brain cells and muscle cells. So at least in experimental models, if you rapamycin to death hippocampal stem cells, they stop producing and you're going to not make any more memories. So, take it with a grain of salt. You may not remember it.
This is funny, and I talked about this once years ago, but they found a drug therapy to help people who had traumatic events, trauma and stress-related response to trauma. what people don't understand is mTOR, which we associate with, building our muscles, also is responsible for making memories, because memories are just folded, organized proteins, and there are enzymes that unfold them so you can read them again. But then they have to be folded and put back, and mTOR plays a role in that. And the drug that they discovered that could help people forget these horrid memories carried over into other areas of their lives. So they could forget their wife. When they got home, they'd remember, that's my wife. And then once they remembered it and they didn't put it away, the next day they would be like, who's this woman I'm sleeping next to? So this is a very, very powerful contextual discussion, because we think of everything as being in or out, on or off. My friend Joel Green likes to talk about baby talk. This is good, this is bad. The idea of suppressing mTOR because you think it's going to make you live longer is very risky when it comes to the brain.
It really is. And I actually like to go with partial mTOR inhibitors. For example, I've said metformin before, and obviously there's some controversy, but I love it because it is a partial mTOR activator or an mTOR inhibitor. So you get some of the benefits with not all of the risk. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know, experts are going to come on and say, well, there's multiple mTOR receptors and we just need to find the particular subunit and this, whatever. And I think we will, but for now, it's a personal choice. Are you, willing to risk losing some memory to maybe do a little bit better in other arenas? And that's just a personal choice because we're not there yet.
I wonder if, I've had Dr. Dale Bredesen on the show a couple times. He's brilliant. But I wonder if anybody's looked at mTOR inhibition in the brain specifically, because because of short-term. When you look at someone who has Alzheimer's, they have short-term memory. They can remember what they did with their mother when they were 6 years old, but they can't remember where they went this morning. Mm-hmm. And we think of this, all these plaque buildups could be just asides from what's really going on with memory formation. So anyway, tenet number 4 is quality control.
Yes. So this goes back to my factory model. And the idea is if you have a factory and you're making product X, whatever it is, you have to check your widgets because they're not all coming out correctly, right? One of my good friends worked at the English muffin factory when we were growing up, and her job was to pick out the ones that were burnt. And your body does this, right? So we know that your proteins get malformed, and you have 4 very specific protein checking and fixing mechanisms. Goes true for your DNA as well. Every cell, every day has 10 to the 5th errors. Could be single strand, double strand, substitution, blah, 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 blah. But 10 to the 5th cell or 10 to the 5th errors per cell per day. And that's a ton. So Your body has 4 very specific DNA repair mechanisms to fix it. If you don't fix these things, all sorts of bad things can happen, right? Your cell is going to fail. It's going to become apoptotic. Could become a cancerous cell. Just very bad things. Therefore, we need to optimize our repair mechanisms. And that's what this category is about. The other thing that's in this category is autophagy, because I like to think of autophagy as recycling, right? So if you're picking out the bad widgets, you're not going to just throw out the entire widget. You're going to take the pieces apart, use the good stuff, and then pitch the stuff that didn't really work. Mm-hmm. Right? So we want to increase our autophagy in this category as well.
And then what about mitophagy? Is that part of the problem?
Right. So I just throw it all in the same category. So autophagy is recycling any of your cellular pieces. Does your Golgi body not work? Does your mitochondria not work? Mm-hmm. You've got many, many little subcellular units that you're going to be recycling. So absolutely, mitophagy is just a fancy word for mitochondrial autophagy. Same thing.
Now, this is a favorite of mine because whenever I talk about the immune system, I always tell people, let's talk about the gut and let's talk about inflammation, because inflammation is the army of the immune system. Mm-hmm. And so you have the 5th tenet as the immune system.
Right. So I call it the security system because, again, back to my factory model, these are the big security guards, right? And they are trying to keep you safe. But sometimes they don't really keep you safe, right? So when you are young, your immune system is very potent. You tend not to get a lot of infections. You tend to respond to vaccines well, and you have a low risk for cancer and all as well. As you get old, your system turns on itself. So you become more and more and more chronically inflamed. And that happens for many reasons. But you tend to produce more evil, cytotoxic cytokinins over the course of time, again, for many, many reasons. Your cells are less able to fight off infection. Your cells are less able to create a response to vaccines, which is why older people have less of a reaction, or it's less efficacious. And the cells that are supposed to be helping you become lymphomas and leukemias. So we know all of this fails over time.
The next one, tenet 6, is individual cells themselves.
Yes. So I tell people when I'm starting that all cells are the same, but in reality, they're not. Right? A red cell is not going to be the same as a liver cell, which is significantly different than a brain cell, right? Red cell lives for a few months, liver cell lasts for 10 years, brain cell lasts your entire life. Their needs are different. Some are stationary, some are ambulatory, et cetera, et cetera. Also in this category, I put senescent cells, which we need to get rid of, and then stem cells that we want to kind of keep healthy and nurse them as long as we possibly can. So this boils down to what exactly do we need to cater to all of the little individual needs.
And then the last one, which is a favorite of mine, I'm reading it now. I actually asked you this question about metabolic debris accumulation being part of the aging phenotype. Waste management.
Yep. Everyone knows if you have a factory, you got to take out the garbage, right? Some things are just not good for you if you're leaving it stacked up in the corner. The big thing in this category is glucose management. Glucose gets into your system. We need it for energy, but it also causes us just a boatload of trouble. It is sticky on the outside. I always tell people lollipops are sticky and they're sticky on the inside. So they stick, molecularly, of course, but they stick to proteins, to DNAs, and to lipid. And what it does is several things. So number one, it makes whatever it's stuck to not work anymore, because proteins work by configurations, by 3D shapes. And when something sticks to it, it's just not going to work anymore. So you spend a boatload of time making proteins and now they're non-functional. So that's not good. It completely denatured DNA, and that's not good because that can cause all sorts of issues. And then in terms of, lipids and that sort of thing, it just makes your cell not function very well. Then these AGEs, advanced glycation end products, are very inflammatory. They cause a ton more inflammation than you need. And as well, they're sticky. So they stick to collagen mostly, and they sort of rip up anything that's collagen based. And we're all collagen based, right? So it's one of the reasons you get congestive heart failure over time without having coronary disease. It's one of the reasons that you have high blood pressure. And it's the biggest reason that your skin droops over time.
And I suspect, and I've said this over the years, that it's the reason for some rhythm issues in the heart. If you've ever worked with a PC board, and you know that if you splash some solder and it bridges this run and this run, now you have a short. And I have often wondered if AGEs accumulate in coronary tissue, especially in that sinus where all the heartbeat emanates from, if it actually could short circuit and make the pulse change over time.
Well, of course it can. Nerves are nerve cells, right? Cells are cells, except for category 6, where cells are slightly different than other cells. But a nerve cell is going to be the same as any other cell, and that all of these things in all of these categories is going to cause it to malfunction. My guess would be that the way it conducts electricity, you have to have significant consistency. It's hard to explain nerve conduction, but it requires a lot of balance of very specific things, and that fails over time. As well, things get glycated, they get oxidated, and all sorts of things go wrong in this particular cell, which causes the neuron not to fire properly. And you're right, it could be many, many things, but my best guess is that the nerve is exactly the same as any other cell, and everything's going to get to it.
So let's talk a little bit about AGEs now. You have a cool little device I'd like you to show the audience.
Oh, yeah.
It measures AGE accumulation in your body. This is so fascinating. I want to get one of these because...
Oh, this is right. So let me show you this. So this is the little thing that comes with
AGE scanner. Okay.
It comes from a company called, can you see that?
Yeah, Diagnostics.
Yes.
Diagnostics, okay.
Comes from the Netherlands. There's a huge size that you can get for your office if anyone really wants to do that. I have the hand scanner. and you stick it on your skin. There's an app that you put on your phone. It takes about, I don't know, second and a half or two, and it tells you what your glucose or what your AG accumulation in your skin is. And it's probably the most accurate way we have to measure it and follow it.
So is AGE accumulation in the skin representative of the rest of the body?
I would imagine that it probably is, and it might even be worse because skin has more damaging effects than the rest of your body, just because of sun and pollutants and that sort of thing.
And it's on the outside. And I've always said, without knowing whether this is accurate, so I'm here to be corrected by you today, that when we see liver spots on our skin, these are AGEs that we can see. Think there's any truth to that?
Yeah, I think it probably is. Well, it's many things. You get melanin deposits where it shouldn't be. It's basically it's skin cell dysfunction, putting pigment where it shouldn't be and taking away from where it should be, right? People get the equal number of little white spots that you can't get rid of. AGEs do accumulate. I don't know if they cause the coloration necessarily, but they definitely just cause that laxity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Lipofuscin is actually one of the big things that causes pigment accumulation, actually.
Now, what is that?
So lipofuscin, I call it the kitchen drawer phenomenon. And allow me to digress for a second. Those people that have lived in a house or an apartment for many, many years, there's always a drawer somewhere in your house, usually in your kitchen. And
it's called the junk drawer. It's called the junk drawer.
Exactly, right? We all have it. It's the crap drawer. And you throw stuff into it, but you rarely ever take stuff out of it, right? And so in cells that are long-lived, as you undergo autophagy and your cell goes to take that mitochondria apart that's not doing so great, it can usually take apart most of it, but there is always some piece of it that it doesn't know what to do with. And so it does exactly what we do. It shoves it in the corner. And then over the course of time, these accumulations grow and they grow and they grow, and they can cause cellular dysfunction. And if you actually look at brains of really old people, half the neurons are completely and utterly filled up with lipofuscin. And clearly, if your cell's full of lipofuscin, you're probably not going to be thinking as well as you could be.
So Craig Hollander, who is watching the show live on Facebook, he said, no, it's lipofuscin, just as you did. Then he says it accumulates from eating polyunsaturated fatty acids, and puffers are getting a pretty bad rap in recent times. Do you think there's any correlation?
I think it's multifactorial. I think anything that causes your cell to undergo more autophagy in a bad way is going to cause lipofuscin. And at the moment, I can see him typing, vitamin E reverses it. It sort of does. Curcumin can as well. Again, these fall into the categories of we know what's going wrong. Now we have to go about fixing it all.
And that's the exciting thing to me, that it can be fixed, quite frankly. So the low carbohydrate diet over the years has emerged, and people argue about this all the time. Oh, forget about weight loss for a second. Not talking about weight loss. The low carbohydrate diet has emerged in science as being as some sort of magic remedy for a lot of different things. And I think it was last year, the year before, we talked about a study on the show that was published that showed that low carb diets can actually slowly reverse the aging of the human brain. Are you aware of that study? And do you have any opinions on low carb? Because, clearly rising glucose levels in our population are a real problem. And in your own words, everyone is pre-diabetic. And I want to get you to talk about that. Do you think the low carbohydrate diet has some merit?
Of course it does. Of course it does. Number one, so I have a few caveats before I start spouting off what I think. Because I've said this many times, and so I don't want people to tell me that I'm a hypocrite. I love donuts, and I eat donuts every day. So if anyone says, oh my God, you have a terrible diet, the answer is absolutely right. I have a terrible diet. So don't do what I do. So there it is. I've confessed to my bad diet situation.
Spoken as a true parent. Don't do what you do as I say.
Exactly. That being said, you're absolutely right. Carbohydrates are not fantastic for you because of the glucose issue. In the brain, we used to think it was an obligate glucose user. Turns out it's not, right? You can use other forms of fuel for your brain. But because the brain uses 20% of your body's glucose and 20% of your body's oxygen. If you're eating a lot of carbohydrates, it's going to go there because that's what your brain prefers. And you have all of the issues associated with that. You get more glycation, you get more oxidation. And the biggest problem is that your brain is mostly lipids, and lipids get what we call peroxidized.
Right.
So as the lipids fall apart in your brain, of course, you're going to have neurodegeneration. So there's no doubt the low-carb diet would definitely help your brain.
Okay. We're going to take our first commercial break. And when we come back, I want to start talking about solutions to all of the problems we presented. And also, I want to put this up real quick. For those of you who can't wait around for the solutions, you can go to Dr. Sandra Kauffman's website, kaufmanprotocol.com, where she has an app and a book where you can take this with you and take your time to study it and use it every day to make sure that you are doing the things that speak to the 7 tenets of aging. We're going to take one quick commercial break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Superhuman Radio. Know how important your gut is to your overall health. Bioptimizers has a potent product to heal and repair your gut unlike anything else. It's called Leaky Gut Guardian. It's powered by patented IGY Max, an egg-based protein that enhances gut health, reverses antibiotic damage, and strengthens your immune system. Available in 2 delicious powders, vegetarian vanilla and chocolate carnivore. Simply mix it with your favorite beverage. Repair your gut and power up your immune system risk-free and save 10% off. Go to shrnetwork.biz/leakygut. Don't delay. Fix your gut today. Do you remember those delicious toaster pastries you had when you were a kid? You know, the rectangular sugar-filled snacks? Well, guess what? Legendary Foods has just made low-carb toaster pastry. This is the first of its kind, and honestly, these things are amazing. They have 3 to 4 net carb, less than 1 gram of sugar, and 9 grams of protein. You can eat them right out of the wrapper or lightly toast them. The only question is, which flavor? Strawberry or brown sugar cinnamon? They're available at eatlegendary.com and Amazon. The power of light can be truly life-changing and an important element for every superhuman. Because of this, I want you to experience the power of award-winning Saluma light therapy. Saluma utilizes NASA research technology to improve health at the cellular level and is cleared by the FDA to effectively treat a variety of pain, muscle, and joint conditions, as well as facial wrinkles and acne. Our entire team here at Superhuman Radio uses it. Its innovative shape-taking design allows for easy placement anywhere on the body. Choose from 13 different models. For an exclusive listener discount, go to shrnetwork.biz/Saluma. That's CELLUMA. And use code SHR10 to save 10% off of one of these award-winning devices. Whether your goal is to build muscle or burn fat, you'll find everything you need at Redcon One. Need help getting a good night's sleep? Try Fade Out, or the most popular pre-workout supplement on the market today, Total War. Sign up for their new Transformation Challenge and win $10,000. Or shop for apparel that people at the gym will know that you are serious about your training. Need a testosterone booster that works? Check out Boomstick. Whatever you need, you'll find the best quality supplements on the market at Redcon One. Go to redcon1.com. That's REDCON, the number 1.com, or go to superhumanradio.net and click the Redcon One banner ads today. Mitophagy. You've heard us talk about the power of copper peptides here on the show. Now try it yourself with RestoraCell's amazing new skincare line built on the power of blue copper peptides. All natural, organic, made in the USA, and safe for sensitive skin. Save 30% on their Stem Cell Awakening Serum. Go to shrnetwork.biz/RestoraCell. That's RestoraCell and use code SHR to save 30% off. Remodel your skin today.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
This is the Superhuman Channel, where brawn and brains finally meet.
Would help if I open up the microphones. Welcome back. So let's talk about the solutions to some of these problems. Let's just start with number one. Let's go back to number one, in DNA. What can we do to help protect our DNA and maybe even reverse some of the damage that's already been done?
Okay, so I'm going to start by saying it doesn't work that way exactly. There isn't a one-for-one system. So, which is why I ended up coming up with what I call the Kaufman rating system, because for any one agent, it may help in any of the 7 tenets, and it may do an amazing thing in tenet 1, medium in tenet 2, and then nothing in anything else. So when people look at my stuff, they'll see a 7-digit rating number. And I tend to talk about the ones that do the best in particular categories, but I don't want people to think that it only does something in that particular category.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I want to put this up because I really should have put this up before getting back to these topics. I want to get this up here because I feel like it's not truly accurate. So Craig Hollander says low carb induces stress leading to gluconeogenesis, providing glucose through muscle breakdown. It's my understanding that gluconeogenesis is a very metabolically expensive process that the body only does in dire need of glucose. And if you are metabolically flexible and you are producing ketones and you have fatty acids available, the body can run well with low glucose levels. I'm an example of that. My glucose in the morning is very, very low, ridiculously low, and I go to the gym and I train. Is this true? This whole gluconeogenesis, you're eating a steak and it's turning into the sugar of a donut. Is that really true?
So the metabolism of energy is incredibly interesting. Our bodies are sort of, I don't want to say designed because that suggests someone actually designed us, but our bodies can live roughly 24 hours on just what our liver gives us and what we eat. After that, you have to start creating energy from somewhere. You can break down muscle. You can break down a variety of things. Depending on what you have the most of and what systems are activated will sort of dictate where it comes from. So it's not there's no one sentence that can answer that question. It's very complex.
Dominic D'Agostino came on my show years ago and said that ketones can become glucose. Again, it's a very metabolically expensive process.
Sure.
But the body needs glucose. It will make it. But the body only makes it in dire straits. This whole idea that if you're eating carnivore, which is very popular now, that somehow your body is going to just make so much glucose from the proteins. It's just not true. That's my understanding, at least.
Well,
and
proteins are strings of amino acids. Carbohydrates are strings of glucose and other, the 6 carbon, right? You can't really convert proteins to carbohydrates and glucose exactly, but it's nothing is absolute. Ketones can sort of be changed into energy forms, but it's not glucose per se.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
On a level, it's not convertible like that, but they're definitely energy sources.
Yes. And obviously Craig is an intelligent guy. He's been playing right along with some great comments, and I didn't want to just gloss over that.
No. I'm loving his comments. They're pretty cool.
Yeah, he's great.
I love conversation with him.
Yeah, I like when people like Craig are watching the show live. It makes my job so much easier because they ask the questions and I can be the idiot. What about tenet number 2, cellular energy? How do we manifest better results for cellular energy?
So in terms of maximizing your mitochondria, it depends on how old you are. You become nicotinamide deficient roughly at the age of 40. And that's just an average. Obviously, some people it's going to be before, some people are going to be after because life is a bell-shaped curve for pretty much everything. Up until very recently, you couldn't get your nicotinamide levels tested. Now you can. It's a few $100. It's a take-home test, and I forget the name of the company that does it, but you can do it. However, nicotinamide, and I love this molecule. It's so really cool. You need it obviously for the electron transport chain for NAD, but it's also a necessary cofactor for your sirtuins. your body takes the molecule apart and uses part of it to glue back into your DNA when you're fixing your DNA. And it's also a communication device between your nucleus and your mitochondria, telling you what to do in terms of energy. So you need it for 4 different things. And when you're deficient, your body has to decide, am I going to make less energy? Am I going to fix my DNA? Am I going to turn off my sirtuins? And as a consequence, your energy levels sort of just go to shit, and you're more likely to get cancer and a variety of other issues. So one of the easiest things you can do is supplement your nicotinamide. So that's number one.
Do you have to take nicotinamide, or can you take nicotinic acid and hope that the cascade of events that's required takes place?
So different people have said different things about this. There's some evidence that it works, some evidence that it doesn't. The most information is on nicotinamide riboside or nicotinamide mononucleotide, sort of like the big competing two, because all of that is trademarked, and there's sort of wars going on at the moment between Chromadex and other folk. Yes. And everyone knows how important it is, right? So everyone has come up with other ways to get into the body. There's the nasal spray, there's the patches, there's the injections, and then there's the fancy go to a salon and get a $2,000 infusion, which is a little bit ridiculous. But because we know we're deficient, you have to supplement it somehow. It just probably doesn't really matter how.
How? Yeah, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. Number 3, cellular pathways. How do we fix it?
I love pathways. Pathways are so much fun. So the AMP kinase pathway, as I said, you can activate it with intermittent fasting. I'm the world's worst dieter, however, so I can't do it. I really can't. So I use metformin. Just so many benefits to metformin. Some people don't like it. I absolutely love it. It changes your the microbiota in your gut. There are what I refer to as fat people bacteria and skinny people bacteria, and it selects for the skinny people bacteria. So
it shifts the Bacteroidetes and the firmicutes, but it also does something with a microbe called Akkermansia, I think, or something. It shifts that one as well. Mm-hmm. But the only thing that I worry about with metformin is just recently a study was published tying metformin use to a higher rate of breast cancer in women. Have you seen that study?
Well, so what you need to think about, and this is true, the answer is yes. We are optimizing cells, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything we do is designed to optimize the way a cell works.
Including a cancer cell.
Including a cancer cell. So if you dig deep enough, you are absolutely going to find that all of these things can actually make cancer worse if you already have it. That being said, if you are diabetic and you're on metformin, the risk of cancer drops by 40%.
And my logic to it was, well, they're looking at a sick population on metformin. They're not looking at the people who take metformin as a senolytic are outliers. That research was done with women who are obviously diabetic, which they have a higher rate of cancer to begin with. And so, they happen to be, it's more, I think it's more corollary than causative, in my humble opinion.
I absolutely agree. But in honesty, metformin does something in every category. It helps with epigenetic modification. It helps with mitochondria. It closes the pores. It activates your AMP kinase pathways. It activates some of the sirtuin pathways. It increases repair mechanisms. It really is amazing in almost every category. So if you're going to pick one thing, it's amazing. The caveat to that, of course, is that it's a partial mTOR inhibitor. And so people that are athletes or athletic, it can actually make you lose muscle over the course of time. I don't want to say sarcopenic necessarily, because that's pretty severe. But for people that are athletic, I recommend that they take it at night, or they take a whiff of leucine with it to just prevent muscle loss.
In fact, I asked Dr. Blagascloni, who's a close friend of the show, I texted him one day. I said, Misha, has anyone looked at rapamycin in the presence of a high protein diet? Because, we look at rapamycin, but is anybody, I have plenty of people in my audience, including me, eating 250, 300 grams of protein a day. There's a lot of leucine coming in. Mm-hmm. I don't even know if 6 milligrams of rapamycin is adequate to suppress the mTOR being driven from the protein that I'm taking. So yeah, I get it with the I get it with the leucine. Also, a lot of people like berberine better than rapamycin. I mean, the mTOR.
Metformin.
Any thoughts on berberine and or what's the other one? Resveratrol.
Metformin.
Yeah.
Metformin. So they're very similar. And I've done a lot of reading of both. I'm a whiff more inclined to take the metformin, but the berberine is extremely good. It too changes your microbiota. It too lowers your glucose, maybe not quite as much. It also activates a lot of the same pathways. So it's fantastic. I'm seeing a note that says, what dosage on metformin? So the beginner dose is usually 500 milligrams a day.
Okay.
For a diabetic, you can go up to about 2,000. I keep sort of experimenting with different doses. I was on 850 twice a day, and I backed off to 850 once a day. As a rock climber, I decided to do the night thing with a little bit of leucine thrown in. I will tell anyone that wants to start it, for the first 2 weeks, you're going to have a little bit of GI upset.
Yeah.
And no one really knows why this happens, but I think it has to do with the redistribution of your microbiota. And then once you sort of hit the 2 week period, it settles out, and then it's like you're not taking anything. And you're not going to feel anything after that. So you sort of have to also take it as a grain of salt that it's beneficial without truly feeling anything.
Okay, that's great. So the next one is quality control. What can we do to enhance quality control?
So my favorite things in this category have to do with DNA repair mechanisms.
Mm-hmm.
I live in Miami Beach and a ton of sun damage. So there's two agents down here that increase DNA repair mechanisms, especially something called, it's sold as the name of, oh, you're welcome, sold as fern block. It's polypodium. And then the second one is this thing called AC11, and it's from a plant in the Amazon. And they both increase DNA repair mechanisms, which I think is amazing. Autophagy is also in this category, and the most well-known thing that increases autophagy is spermidine. And of course, spermidine, yes, comes from sperm related to fantastic agents called putrescens and cadaverine. It's just fantastic names. But spermidine is one of my new favorite agents because in addition to activating autophagy, it's a huge epigenetic modifier, and it also bubble wraps your DNA and sort of keeps it safe from exogenous damage. It's also
it's good as an iron chelator, spermidine.
Oh, it is. It absolutely is. It increases your
told me about that.
Yep, yeah. And it's an iron chelator. That's exactly right. I gave a lecture about spermidine in conjunction with Oxford University a few weeks ago. And I took a deep dive into spermidine, and it was just the most fantastic molecule, completely benign and just fantastic.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we got the other three that we haven't talked about yet: immune system, individual cells, and waste management. But if you want some help putting all of this together, you can actually get a copy of the book and the app. What does the app actually do, Dr. Kaufman?
So I don't know if anyone knows this or realizes this. This is a hobby for me. I'm actually an anesthesiologist, which is why I'm sitting in scrubs, and I'm a pediatric anesthesiologist. So I'll never see any of the people that are listening to this as an actual patient. The app was designed to help people through all of this without actually having to talk to me. So it's very simple. There's nothing fancy in it at all. You put in your medical concerns, you put in how many things you're willing to take, and it sort of spits out via an algorithm of what you should be taking. And then it goes over all of the agents so you sort of know what you're taking. It's sort of like the cheater's man system.
And then the book accompanies that if you want to get deeper into the science, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, the book is exactly what it says. The first half is why you age. So it goes through the 7 tenets in significant detail. With a whole lot of bad jokes in there, because I know this is sort of like really boring science. The jokes sort of keep people going. And then the second half was when I wrote it, the top 15 agents at the time, what they did, how they did it, what you need to think about and worry about, et cetera. But, it's 3 years old. And so now I'm working on book 2. Hopefully it'll be out in 9 months or so. That'll sort of have updates and more agents and that sort of thing.
Okay. And again, for those of you listening to the show, it's Kaufman, Kaufman. Two N's, yeah. Kaufman protocol.com, where you can get both the book and the app. We're going to take a quick commercial break. Stay with us. We have more questions and more discussion to come. those delicious toaster pastries you had when you were a kid. You know, the rectangular sugar-filled snacks? Well, guess what? Legendary Foods has just made low-carb toaster pastry. This is the first of its kind, and honestly, these things are amazing. They have 3 to 4 net carb, less than 1 gram of sugar, and 9 grams of protein. You can eat them right out of the wrapper or lightly toast them. The only question is, which flavor? Strawberry or brown sugar cinnamon? They're available at eatlegendary.com and Amazon. TaylorMade Health is focused on making sure you're able to perform and look your best. They are a leader in game-changing supplements and cosmetic products. Whether you want to increase strength, expedite recovery, facilitate soft tissue repair, or reduce deep wrinkles, TaylorMade Health has you covered. TaylorMade Health is also the home to Dr. Seed's products such as BPC, BPC Plus, and the Chill Pill. All of my listeners can now get 20% off their first order with code TRY20. That's TRY20. This code can even be used on subscription orders. Visit shrnetwork.biz/try20 today and use code TRY20 for 20% off your first order. Mitophagy. Every day there's a new wellness trend. Eat that. Do this. Avoid those. How do you know where to start or who to trust? Inside Tracker helps you cut through the noise by analyzing your blood, your DNA, your lifestyle, and your fitness tracker to provide you with a science-backed, trackable action plan on how to live, age, and perform better. Personalized, one-size-fits-one recommendations to help you optimize you. For a limited time, Inside Tracker is offering Superhuman Radio listeners 25% off the entire store. Go to shrnetwork.biz/inside tracker, INSIDETRACKER, to save 25% off. Change begins on the inside. The power of light can be truly life-changing and an important element for every superhuman. Because of this, I want you to experience the power of award-winning Saluma light therapy. Saluma utilizes NASA research technology to improve health at the cellular level and is cleared by the FDA to effectively treat a variety of pain, muscle, and joint conditions, as well as facial wrinkles and acne. Our entire team here at Superhuman Radio uses it. Its innovative shape-taking design allows for easy placement anywhere on the body. Choose from 13 different models. For an exclusive listener discount, go to shrnetwork.biz/Saluma, that's CELLUMA, and use code SHR10 to save 10% off of one of these award-winning devices. Being superhuman means being conscientious about the choices we make. White Oak Pastures is superhuman when it comes to raising livestock. They're committed to animal welfare, land regeneration, and rural revival. They responsibly manage the entire process from the pasture to your doorstep. High-quality, pasture-raised, great-tasting meat from a farm you can trust. Full nose-to-tail selections. They even have options for your pet. Go to shrnetwork.biz/white oak and use code SHR20 to save 20% off your entire first order. As a listener of this show, you know how important your gut is to your overall health. Bioptimizers has a potent product to heal and repair your gut unlike anything else. It's called Leaky Gut Guardian. It's powered by patented IGY Max, an egg-based protein that enhances gut health, reverses antibiotic damage, and strengthens your immune system. Available in 2 delicious powders, vegetarian vanilla and chocolate carnivore. Simply mix it with your favorite beverage. Repair your gut and power up your immune system risk-free and save 10% off. Go to shrnetwork.biz/leaky gut. Don't delay. Fix your gut today.
Spit that out right now. This is the Superhuman Channel.
At the top of the hour, we're going to be joined by Patrick Johnson to talk more about light therapy, not just red light. I know everybody's focused on red light. There are other therapeutic light in the spectrum that we're going to get into. Right now, we're talking with Dr. Sandra Kaufman about aging better. And let's get back to the topic at hand here. So the next, what did I do? I was scanning your website and the next topic, here they are, 7 tenets of aging, is immune system. Or is it quality? No, we did quality control, immune system. So what can we do to, and this is funny because there's all this stuff out there about boost your immune system. And like everything else, it's not all one way. It's not, I mean, if you have an autoimmune disorder, is boosting your immune system a wise thing? Like making the army stronger that's destroying your tissue, is that a wise thing?
There's so many questions wrapped up in what you just said.
I know.
Right? So the answer is you don't need to boost your immune system until you get a little older and it starts to fail. right? You don't need to be 20. If you're a normal 20, 30-year-old, you don't need to boost your immune system because you are fine all by yourself. As you get older and it starts to fail, then yes, we need to boost your immune system. Women are more likely to get autoimmune diseases. It's usually triggered by damaged and fragmented DNA or glycated DNA, which is one of the reasons that I'm a big believer in bubble wrapping your DNA to sort of prevent that. Because there's a correlation being able to prevent it with spermidine and autoimmune diseases and blah, 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 blah. So that's a prevention issue. But in terms of boosting your immune system as you get older, it is really quite important because we want to be able to fight off infection. I mean, I see so many old people in the hospital, you know, they can't, normal bacteria that we would be able to fight off, they can't. So they get very septic and it's just kind of not a good thing. So the answer is, yes, we fix our cells and then we boost our immune systems. Obviously, with this COVID business, everyone's focused on D and C, although my favorites are quercetin and a variety of other very sort of niche things at the moment. But the biggest thing in this category that I want to broach is the inflammation issue. Because one of the hugest problems with aging is inflammation, which is why they came up with the word inflammaging, which, you know, the issue is that as your sirtuins drop and your ability to fight off inflammation fails, it goes up. As you deposit fat in the wrong places, you become more inflammatory. As you get more AGEs, you become more inflammatory. So this is one of the reasons that everyone aches and pains as they get older, right? Everyone's, their hands hurt, their knees hurt, their this aches, their that aches. So this is a huge problem. And you're going to ask, so what do we do about it? One of my most favorite things in the world is curcumin. Unfortunately, as I'm sure you already know, curcumin comes from turmeric, and there's very little of it actually in turmeric. So you need to get one of the bioavailable forms, because regular curcumin, the half-life or the bioavailability is terrible. But if you get a bioavailable form, either in a nanomycel or something that increases the absorption, it's fantastic. It really, really is just amazing. I take 2 a day. I'm a rock climber, and I beat the crap out of myself on a daily basis. And when you're on curcumin, nothing hurts. And I have dozens and dozens and dozens of people that email me every day saying, oh my God, you saved my life. The inflammation has really gone down. And, you know, so this is why we measure CRPs and all that sort of thing to truly make it better. And it works.
Sabinsa has a standardized curcumin called the C3, and it's a very highly concentrate, but it's not any more bioavailable. I've read that if you take it with fat, I actually had a guy who's from India come on the show years ago and say, we cook with it and you absorb more of it, you know, take it with fat. But I would imagine that there's probably some liposomal stuff coming if it's not out there already.
So my favorite stuff is in a nanomycel.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like to promote products, but I think that Rev Genetics makes the best one at the moment. It's in a nanomycel, and I can tell you I take 2 a day, and if I take 3, I turn yellow. So I know it's getting into me, and I know that it's working.
He used to be a sponsor. I can't think of his name. He's in Florida.
Anthony
but anyway, he used to be a sponsor, and I used to take it, and I talked about it on the show that when I would take it, like if I touched alcohol, like I inject myself with different things, you know, and so like I would look at the alcohol swab and there'd be yellow on it, and it was because it came through my skin, and so I knew I was absorbing it because it was getting into my skin. But yes, he used to be a sponsor years ago, maybe 10 years ago or so. Yes, great products. They have a really good resveratrol product too.
It's amazing.
That's
right,
called Tween. It's in Tween, I think it's called. It's like a gel that it's in. Yeah. Yeah,
no, they're very good at taking things that we need, and they do it to a lot of things. It's quercetin, they have resveratrol, a variety of things. They use NMN instead of the NR, but they package it incredibly well in these nanomycels or.
It's all about delivery with them. It's all about.
It really is about delivery because you need it. And, you know, a lot of people say, well, how do I know I'm getting it? And the answer is it does depend on the delivery system. And in terms of the curcumin, you know, 20 years ago, they said eat it with pepper, increases absorption. And the reason that worked is because pepper actually turns off your liver enzymes. So you wouldn't get rid of it as quickly. Problem, of course, is then you're not going to get rid of other things as well. So if you're on prescription medications, you're sort of screwed because you just gave yourself an overdose by accident.
Individual cells, number 6.
Okay, so individual cells, it really just is what cells you want to work on. And we're going to start with the obvious ones. We need to get rid of senescent cells, right? People call them zombie cells. I think of them as old, grumpy old men cells, because you take a normal cell, you leave it in a factory for a while, and he just sits there, eats donuts. He's going to get fat, dysmorphic, and grumpy. And this is what your cells do when they get old and they have damage. Well, let me back up a second. So a normal cell in cellular world has DNA damage, and the cell shuts it down, and the cell tries to repair the DNA damage. And if it can, it goes back to being a normal cell. And if it cannot, it has 2 choices. One, it can become apoptotic, self-suicide and die, right. Or it becomes senescent. And senescent cells change their morphology. They get kind of fat and chunky. You get bloating of the organelles, and they exude cytokinins. And that's it's sort of, I like to think of it as contagious. It can cause a cell next to it to become senescent, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's the bad apple in the bucket scenario.
Right.
So if you have any areas of pathology, you probably have a ton of senescent cells and you don't know it. So if you've had injuries, if you've had an area of cancer that now you've had radiation and chemo, et cetera, you need to get rid of your senescent cells. Unfortunately, at the moment, the only 2 that are available are fisetin and quercetin. Those are over the counter. There are probably 7 or 8 in production and testing around the globe, but nothing yet is commercially available. But I'd like to think that if you bolus yourself with fisetin and or quercetin, you can theoretically start getting away, getting your senescent cells out of the way. And there's evidence that if you clear them out, normal cells sort of replace them.
And then waste management.
Waste management, my favorite category, and apparently yours as well, glucose. You need to block the effects of glucose. And as I've said, I'm a donut eater, but this makes me even more obsessive in this category. So I like to decrease the amount of glucose I'm absorbing. I like to decrease the glucose accumulation in terms of becoming an AGE. It is 7 to 8 non-enzymatic steps, to become an AGE, and different agents can block each one of those steps. There's some evidence that you can sort of get rid of them before they land anywhere. Carnosine, for example, is a transglycosylating agent. Hydralazine is a transglycosylating agent. And then once upon a time, they thought that algebrium could strip it, but obviously that failed. But we're working on those things right now. So the idea is to get rid of the glucose before it can cause you any harm.
So glucose mimetics, insulin mimetics and glucose disposal agents, our alpha-lipoic acid has been shown to be effective in lowering blood sugar levels of both diabetic and non-diabetic people. What do you think of our
a whole lot of them have. Tons of them have. Which is why, if you look at my list of things, there's a ton of things in this category. So if someone comes to me looking for suggestions and they're pre-diabetic, they're diabetic, et cetera, we load them up with agents that have points in that category. Pyridoxamine is amazing. Carnosine is amazing. ECGC helps. A variety of them helps.
Let me just plug the book and the app again real quick. And I think I'll have enough time to just get one other question up here. Kaufman Protocol, Kaufmann, protocol.com. You can get the book and the app that will walk you through the process of protecting yourself against aging too fast, let's say. And let me see, we had, okay, let's see. So I'm Italian, but I haven't had real pasta in decades. Really, not since I was diagnosed and had to save my own life when at 39. I'm going to be 63 in June. So Paula Mariani says, I make golden paste. Oh, I thought it was pasta. I'm sorry. I'm a schmuck. Any thoughts? Works great for my dogs. What is golden paste? Do you know what that is?
I have no idea.
It's got to be turmeric or curcumin, probably.
I don't know. Quercetin's yellow. Turmeric is yellow. I don't know. Vitamin C, when it's micronized, is yellow. There's a whole lot of yellow stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. I want to thank you so much and an open invitation to come back on the show. I'm fascinated by your work here. Turmeric golden paste. We'll have to find out what that is. Thanks, Paula. I thought, because she's Italian like me, I thought it said golden pasta. I'm like, no. take the turmeric without the pasta. You're better off.
I don't know. We could make turmeric pasta. That actually sounds quite delicious.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not a fan of pasta. I'm not a fan of anything that has a high carb load. I can tell you that I feel horrible, almost like hungover, if I eat pizza or if I were to eat pasta. The next day I would feel like crap. I'd have to cancel the day.
Interesting.
But I could be, and I want to do, we didn't really spend enough time on everyone is pre-diabetic, and maybe we can do that on the next go around when you're back on the show.
Happy to. Yeah, because the other thing I want to really help people understand what they need specifically for them. There's all of this, jimble jamble, and everyone doesn't need everything. So, maybe next time we can talk specifically about how people can design their own programs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here, Dr. Kauffman.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Take care. We're going to take one quick commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about light therapy, which is a favorite of mine. Elisa was using her Saluma light unit the other day on her face. She's laying on the floor, and she can actually see differences in the quality of her skin from it. And we're going to talk more about that when we come back. Stay tuned. We shall return. White oak pastures is superhuman when it comes to raising livestock. They're committed to animal welfare. Pastries you had when you were a kid. The rectangular sugar-filled snacks? Well, guess what? Legendary Foods has just made low-carb toaster pastry. This is the first of its kind, and honestly, these things are amazing. They have 3 to 4 net carb, less than 1 gram of sugar, and 9 grams of protein. You can eat them right out of the wrapper or lightly toast them. The only question is, which flavor? Strawberry or brown sugar cinnamon? They're available at eatlegendary.com and Amazon. As a listener of this show, you know how important your gut is to your overall health. Bioptimizers has a potent product to heal and repair your gut unlike anything else. It's called Leaky Gut Guardian. It's powered by patented IGY Max, an egg-based protein that enhances gut health, reverses antibiotic damage, and strengthens your immune system. Available in 2 delicious powders, vegetarian vanilla and chocolate carnivore. Simply mix it with your favorite beverage. Repair your gut and power up your immune system risk-free and save 10% off. Go to shrnetwork.biz/leakygut. Don't delay. Fix your gut today. Being superhuman means being conscientious about the choices we make. White Oak Pastures is superhuman when it comes to raising livestock. They're committed to animal welfare, land regeneration, and rural revival. They responsibly manage the entire process from the pasture to your doorstep. High-quality, pasture-raised, great-tasting meat from a farm you can trust. Full nose-to-tail selections. They even have options for your pet. Go to shrnetwork.biz/whiteoak and use code SHR20 to save 20% off your entire first order. Mitophagy. The power of light can be truly life-changing and an important element for every superhuman. Because of this, I want you to experience the power of award-winning Saluma light therapy. Saluma utilizes NASA research technology to improve health at the cellular level and is cleared by the FDA to effectively treat a variety of pain, muscle and joint conditions, as well as facial wrinkles and acne. Our entire team here at Superhuman Radio uses it. Its innovative shape-taking design allows for easy placement anywhere on the body. Choose from 13 different models. For an exclusive listener discount, go to shrnetwork.biz/Saluma. That's CELLUMA, and use code SHR10 to save 10% off of one of these award-winning devices. You've heard us talk about the power of copper peptides here on the show. Now try it yourself with RestoraCell's amazing new skincare line built on the power of blue copper peptides. All natural, organic, made in the USA, and safe for sensitive skin. Save 30% on their Stem Cell Awakening Serum. Go to shrnetwork.biz/RestoraCell. That's RestoraCell and use code SHR to save 30% off. Remodel your skin today. TaylorMade Health is focused on making sure you're able to perform and look your best. They are a leader in game-changing supplements and cosmetic products. Whether you want to increase strength, expedite recovery, facilitate soft tissue repair, or reduce deep wrinkles, TaylorMade Health has you covered. TaylorMade Health is also the home to Dr. Seed's products such as BPC, BPC Plus, and the Chill Pill. All of my listeners can now get 20% off their first order with code TRY20. That's TRY20. This code can even be used on subscription orders. Visit shrnetwork.biz/try20 today and use code TRY20 for 20% off your first order.
This is the Superhuman Channel, doing reps with the weight of the world.
Welcome back to Superhuman Radio. We're joined by Patrick Johnson. How you doing, Patrick?
Doing great, Carl. How are you?
Great. And so we're going to talk about the Saluma Light Therapy Unit for a moment. You guys just won an award, it looks like, huh?
I can't keep up. I think we've actually won about 4 awards this year so far, and there's a couple more in the queue, is my understanding. So we are the most award-winning device in the light therapy category, and not only in the United States but internationally, and have been for probably at least the last 5 years. So it's hard to keep a good thing down.
Talk about that for a second. So who's awarding these, or who is awarding you with these salutations? And what for? Why? What are you winning these awards for?
Yeah, typically they are industry journals, and they are readership awards. So journals running, product category awards on an annual basis, and most often we're winning best light therapy device or best energy device. But recently in the UK, we won Product Innovation in the Year from the Aesthetics Journal, which rated the Saluma the most innovative product for 2019 against all medical aesthetic products. So not just other light therapy devices, but any products that were available in medical aesthetics. So as a tremendous honor, particularly in that the panel was a handful of board certified plastic surgeons. So
wow.
Yeah.
So this has become a very, very busy category of products on the web. There's several companies who have spent lots of money making their names synonymous with red light therapy.
Right.
And exclusively red light therapy.
Right. And there's a reason for that.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. Why are they just in the red light therapy business? Why there's so many other therapeutic wavelengths? Why are they just in the red light therapy business?
Yeah. So unfortunately, and over our objections, a couple years ago, the FDA decided to make red light therapy devices 510K exempt, which essentially means that to be able to make marketing claims about your device, your red light device, you didn't have to go through the 510K process in proving efficacy and safety to the FDA. The FDA knew enough about the mechanism of action. They knew enough about the efficacy. They knew enough about the mechanism of action, the safety, the efficacy, that they just decided, we don't need to be reporting, looking at these products anymore because they're so well known. And so they made that particular category, which relates to pain management, 510K exempt. Mm-hmm. The problem is that, a lot of, sort of fly-by-night manufacturers of LED devices took that as a free pass to make all sorts of therapeutic claims about their devices under the auspices of red light. And so, as you point out, there's a lot of therapeutic treatments that use different wavelengths of light that are outside red light and outside of pain management. And so, unfortunately, it's been a rush to market given a door that was opened by the FDA.
And are there any requirements for these other companies, since these other companies are not applying for medical light therapy, medical device? Because I had an experience with the red light unit that I had some pain in my leg, and I got it pretty close to it wasn't touching my skin.
Right.
but it was probably inches from my skin. And all of a sudden I felt, wow, something stinging. And I looked and I had 3 nice blisters.
Yeah.
Right where those lights were. And I thought, son of a gun. I mean, and I just wonder, are there any requirements on these manufacturers to restrict power or limit power, or because it seems like a race to the most powerful? Like, oh,
right.
well, our unit is so powerful, you can stand, close the door and the light will still get you. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
Isn't there some sort of safety requirement involved here?
Well, there is if you elect to follow them. But again, we see a lot of people coming to market not following the regulations, and therefore, and I think you make a great point. You know, it's you know, it's like kind of like the competition in the car market to see who's got the most horsepower. The problem is if you can't put that power to the ground, you have
safely.
Yeah. And so, you know, power is really a misnomer in light therapy. The true measure of efficacy is the amount of energy available for absorption. And you actually don't need a lot of energy available. But that's a pretty complex variable in how much energy the device is emitting and the distance the device positions. And so, you know, as you point out, there are devices on the market that say, you know, stand 8 to 12 inches away from this. The problem is, you know, beyond burning yourself, if you move closer to the device, you have the potential of delivering too much energy and then triggering oxidative events, which damages the tissue. So, you know, if you know, whether or not you're going to buy a Saluma or some other LED device, I just would encourage all of your audience to look for regulatory credentials, because that means the device has been reviewed and deemed both safe and effective by regulatory authorities. It's really, really important.
So Craig Hollander makes a good point. Too much EMF with most of these units. A lot of these units are, they clearly are being made by 1 or 2 companies in China, and everybody's slapping their decal on it.
Right.
They all look the same. It's very obvious. The LEDs look the same. The color of the case is the same, except for the shiny chrome-like sticker on the side that has the name of a company.
Right.
So, what about EMF and the Saluma unit?
Again, we you know, there are standards for EMF, and we have to prove that we're below those acceptable standards. There is, you know, because our devices are used in hospitals, we have to make sure that the energy coming out of our device, you know, the control unit, isn't going to interfere with anything else in the, you know, the hospital suite. And so, you know, and I was on the phone with an editor this morning from one of the journals we advertise in, because there's a trend for bashing blue light right now,
Yes.
As, you know, potentially damaging to the skin and the eyes. And yes, if in fact you use one of these very powerful devices that hasn't been reviewed, there is a potential for that. But there isn't, because there are actually international standards for emissions that we all have to.
Well, and that's, let's say we all have to, that Saluma meets in order to be certified.
Yeah.
And that's important, because blue light is a really important therapeutic bandwidth, and part of natural light, outdoor daylight. And so the idea that blue light is dangerous, yeah, it's dangerous if you're putting out too much power.
Right. Well, and, you know, unfortunately, I think this is a byproduct of the regulatory shift from incandescent to fluorescent ambient lighting to LED, and the pushback by those manufacturers to create concerns about LED. And those concerns have turned into fact, despite the fact they're not supported by any clinical data. And then that's been picked up by, you know, both the ophthalmological and aesthetics industries saying, wow, you know, we have concerns here. But when you drill down into the clinical data, there's nothing to support that, you know, blue light is, potentially hazardous at the levels of emission like the Saluma, or even, the real concern is, well, we're all spending more time in front of laptops and tablets and cell phones, and that's damaging our skin and damaging our eyes. And it's like, yeah, except that's not supported by the clinical data anywhere. When you look at studies where they've, assessed the damaging effects of light energy, the amounts of the dose are just off the chart. And so, you got to be educated. And one of the things that allows you to have to be too educated is looking at regulatory credentials.
So I happen to be one of the few people that has a light spectrum analyzer on my phone. I'm trying to find it so I can tell people the name of it. And I can't dial it. So, and I can tell you, so we hear all this stuff about, like, I know people who wear blue blockers in the daytime.
Yeah.
And I think this is silly.
Yeah.
And my argument is that daytime outside daylight is so much hotter, stronger of blue light than my computer is. And I've actually put this up on Facebook where I put my computer screen and then walked right outside my studio and taken a picture of the sky. And I'm like, so let me get this straight. You're wearing blue blockers in your office because the blue light coming out of your computer is dangerous.
Not outside.
There's 1,000 times brighter blue light coming outside, and outside we all agree is good for you.
Yeah. Right. Well, and that's the thing. I mean, there's this great study out at Oxford University where they averaged the sun exposure in the middle of the winter, in the middle of the summer, to determine how much sort of natural light energy exposure you get. And then they compared it to all sorts of consumer electronics, and they're orders of magnitude different. So yeah, if you're going to be concerned about something, be concerned about going outside on a sunny day.
Yeah. And this is called EVOS, EVOS, and it's the Professional Spectrum Analyzer app that I have.
Yeah.
And it's very effective. And, incandescent light has very little blue light in it. So these people who are wearing their blue blockers, if you're not watching TV at night and you're just sitting in a room reading, you don't need to wear them because there's no blue light coming out of incandescent lights.
Right.
So we've got, it's like everything else, Patrick. We learn something, and then an industry sprouts from it.
Right.
And then they make it so much. Because it's all fear-based, right? Everybody's trying to sell things based on, if you don't have this, you're not going to live as long, you're not going to be as strong. And they just take it to the extreme because it's easy to fool people if they think, oh my God, working in front of my computer screen is blinding me. It's not blinding you.
Yeah.
I've been sitting in front of a computer screen since I'm in my 20s now.
Right.
And I don't even wear reading glasses when I have to go to the restaurant, and everybody hands me their menu. Here, what's this? So I don't know.
There's that old adage, if you repeat a lie long enough, it becomes a truth. And I think, again, I think there were concerns, and they probably weren't supported concerns, but then those concerns actually turned into sort of statements of fact, and now no one sort of questions them, and so, there's not any science about whether or not the problem exists, and then, there's a rush to market with products to address a problem that doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. That's funny. So
let's
talk about.
Go ahead.
Let's talk about the Saluma.
Yeah.
There are 3 different models of Saluma, correct?
No, there are 13.
Okay, because you have the ones that the doctor's offices buy as well. So
there's 3 different modes of treatment.
Okay,
and so depending upon, we've tried to make enough models where they can become treatment specific for somebody who doesn't have a desire to have a really versatile device. If they have a particular issue they want to work on with light therapy, or you can buy one of our products that has all of our treatment modes, and sort of get the big one.
That's the one we have at home. Elisa has the small one. She uses for her face. That one's good for rejuvenating the skin, getting rid of fine wrinkles and lines, but it's also good for acne.
Yep.
I want to say, and it's also good for some pain management as well.
Aches and
right?
pains. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's all great.
And we're in the process of getting FDA clearance on additional indications for use, because light therapy is such a fundamental modality of treatment. I was listening to your earlier guest, and she nailed it, that mitochondrial health becomes degraded about the age of 40, and we need to be doing something about sort of rejuvenating mitochondrial function, because the degradation of mitochondrial function is arguably the definition of aging. Our body's not repairing itself and not energizing itself the way it did when we were younger than 40, and that is the fundamental mechanism of action of light therapy. It's turning back on the mitochondrial process, increasing ATP production, and then giving the cells they need to heal and function properly.
Now, is this a new application for the existing product, or are you introducing a new wavelength as well?
No. A new application, a new indication for use. And again, some people think the FDA regulates the medical industry, and they don't. They actually regulate the claims the medical industry makes about their products. And so if you want to make a particular claim about your product, you have to go to the FDA and say, here's the data on efficacy, and here's the data on safety. Can we say that about the product? And then the FDA says, okay, yeah, you can say that. So it's new indications for use. The jury is pretty much in on the biochemistry of light therapy. So until we get some sort of major change in human biology, light therapy is going to work the way it works right now. So really, it's a matter of the form factor, and that it's it's user friendly given a particular use, and that we have the the authority to make a particular claim about a therapeutic benefit.
I want to put this up. So that's the unit that Elisa has, the one that is shown at the bottom. You can wrap it around your leg. It takes the shape of what you want. She uses it that way and puts it over her face. But I have used it on my achy knees in the past, and literally the pain goes away in minutes. It's astonishing for people who have never tried this. And then there are larger units that you can do entire bodies with. I know that there was a physician who contacted me from Inertia Medical. Why can't I think of Jeremy Gearman, who I hope he reached out to you, because he wanted to speak to you, because he was interested in actually having one for the clinic, from what I understood of our discussion. So there's doctors that can get bigger units and charge for treatments. And right now, for a limited time, and I say this because Saluma is about to rotate out as a sponsor for a while. And so this is a limited time. If you are thinking about a light therapy unit, if you've been going, I see all these ads on Instagram for these light therapy units, and I've been wondering about one, don't waste your money. Get the Saluma, because this one is the one that meets the requirements to be an FDA-approved medical device. And it has 3 different wavelengths of light that it operates in. And it is it takes the shape that you need it to be. There's nothing out there like the Saluma. Nothing. So if you're convinced you want light therapy, this is where you have to go. Go to shrnetwork.biz/Saluma. That's CELLUMA. Use the code SHR10 to save an additional 10% off. They're priced right. They're not gouging, and it's the single best light therapy technology in the market today. Don't waste your time with any more of these big square panels that you got to stand up against the wall, or hang from a door, and then stand in front of it. Don't waste your time. Those are like kids' toys compared to this device. Kids' toys. Oh, here, look. Paula Mariani says, okay, I need the light thing. Looks fantastic. Get it while you can, because I think that Saluma is going to be rotating out pretty soon, and I'm sure they'll come back someday, but this offer is not going to be available for a lot longer. So please take advantage of it. Patrick, I want to thank you so much for being on the show today. I also want to thank you for being a sponsor on the show. We really appreciate. And I tell everybody, Always patronize the sponsors. If I produced one show this month that helped you, help the family member, discover how to fix a problem or be a better athlete or whatever it is, always patronize the sponsors because they make this show possible. They are the engine behind this show. So check out Saluma, shrnetwork.biz/CELLUMA, code SHR10 for 10% off. Thanks for being here today, brother.
All right. Thanks, Carl. You have a great day.
Take care. You too. And that's it for today. I'm off the air tomorrow. And Monday and Tuesday, I may have to travel, kind of a last minute thing. Also wanted to mention that the weekend of May 22nd, Elisa Profumo and I will be in Nashville, Tennessee for the grand opening of the new Redcon 1 gym there. Yes, it is portable, Tommy. It is portable. Easy to travel with. In fact, it folds up, it rolls up. It's very portable. More portable. I would say it's the only truly portable red light therapy or I can't even call it a red light therapy unit on the market today because you can't take those big, square, thick things with you. You can't take them with you. So yes, it is portable. But I will be with Elisa Profumo, Aaron Singerman, Darielle Singerman, and everybody else. Eddie Gallagher will be there. If you are in the Nashville area, check it out. The Redcon 1 Nashville gym is opening up. We're having a grand opening on the 22nd. There's a big after party. Come and meet the athletes. I'm sure Jay Cutler will be there because Jay and Aaron are like brothers. And, of course, Elisa Profumo and I will be there. So if you're in the driving distance to Nashville, Tennessee, please come by and say hello. Just look up Redcon 1 Gym, and you should be able to find it. In fact, before the 22nd, I'll make sure to post the address for anybody who wants to see us there. And then, of course, let's not forget Dr. Kaufman. You can get her app and her book at Kaufman Protocol, KAUFMANN, protocol.com. Check that out. Show her some love. And we'll see everybody later with more Superhuman Radio. Take care.